Lisa Martinez pushed through the back door of the hospital at 2 in the morning. Her feet hurt. Her back hurt. Everything hurt. 12 hours of running between patients, dealing with emergencies, and trying to keep people alive had drained every bit of energy from her body. She walked across the parking lot to her old car and drove home through the empty Chicago streets. Her apartment building was quiet when she arrived. Most people were asleep at this hour. Lisa lived alone on the 3rd floor, in a small one-bedroom place that she could barely afford on her nurse's salary. She parked in the back and grabbed her bag from the passenger seat. That was when she heard it. A small, sad sound coming from near the dumpsters. Lisa stopped and listened. There it was again. A weak, crying noise. Like an animal in distress. She should go inside. She should get some sleep before her next shift. But Lisa could not ignore that sound. She walked toward the dumpsters, using her phone as a flashlight. Behind the furthest dumpster, she found it. A small creature, no bigger than a kitten, huddled against the brick wall. It looked like a cat, but something was wrong with it. Its fur was patchy and rough. Parts of its skin looked scaly, like it had some kind of disease. Its eyes were too large for its head, and they reflected her phone light with an odd golden color. The creature looked up at her and made that sad sound again. Lisa knelt down slowly. She had seen plenty of stray animals in the city, but never one that looked quite like this. Maybe someone had dumped an exotic pet. Maybe it was sick. Either way, it was clearly hungry and scared. She reached out carefully. The creature did not run. It sniffed her hand and pressed its small head against her palm. Its skin felt warm and dry, not like cat fur at all. "You poor thing," Lisa said quietly. "What happened to you?" The creature looked at her with those strange golden eyes. For a moment, Lisa could have sworn it understood her words. She could not take it inside tonight. Her landlord had strict rules about pets, but she could help it. Lisa stood up and went to her car. She always kept some snacks in the glove compartment for long shifts. She found a protein bar and a bottle of water. Back at the dumpster, the creature was still there, waiting. Lisa broke the protein bar into small pieces and set them on the ground. The creature sniffed them once, then ate them quickly, making small, happy sounds. Lisa poured some water into an old coffee cup from her car. The creature drank it all. "I'll call you Patches," Lisa said, looking at the mottled pattern on its skin. "Because of your patches." Patches looked up at her and made a soft chirping sound. Lisa smiled despite her exhaustion. "I'll bring you something better tomorrow. Real food. Just wait here. Okay?" She went inside and collapsed on her bed, still in her scrubs. As she drifted off to sleep, she thought about those golden eyes. Halfway across the galaxy, Queen Valithra paced in her throne room. The crystalline walls reflected her massive form as she moved back and forth, her tail lashing with worry. Her advisors stood at a respectful distance, none daring to speak. "How long?" Valithra's voice was low and dangerous. 3 weeks, Your Majesty," replied Shen, her chief of security. He was an older dragon, his scales faded to a dull bronze, since the hatchling disappeared from the space station. 3 weeks. Valithra's claws scraped against the crystal floor. "My youngest child has been missing for 3 weeks. And you have found nothing?" "We have searched every ship that left the station," Shen said carefully. "We have checked every nearby planet and moon. There is no trace." Valithra turned to face him, her eyes blazing. Dragons were ancient and powerful. They had ruled their corner of space for thousands of years. Other species feared them and respected them. The loss of a royal hatchling was not just a personal tragedy, it was a political disaster. "The hatchling is too young to control its perception filter properly," Valithra said. "It could be anywhere, looking like anything. A small animal. A plant. A rock. How do we find it?" "We are doing everything possible," Shen assured her. "We have teams working day and night." But Valithra knew the truth. As time passed, the chances of finding her child alive grew smaller. Hatchlings were vulnerable. They needed care and protection. Out in the galaxy alone, Her baby could be captured, killed, or lost forever. She thought of the small chirping sounds her youngest made when happy, the way it would curl up in her arms and fall asleep. The innocent trust in its eyes. Expand the search, Valithra ordered. Every planet within 20 light years. I do not care about borders or treaties. Find my child. Light years away, in a government office on Earth, Secretary of Defense Helen Price sat at her desk reviewing reports. It was 3 in the morning, but she rarely slept these days. There was too much to worry about. We have a situation, General Carlos Webb said as he entered her office. He carried a tablet with data scrolling across its screen. What kind of situation? Helen asked. Unusual activity in near-Earth space. Multiple alien vessels conducting what appears to be search patterns. They are not hostile, but they are definitely looking for something. Helen took the tablet and studied the data. Humanity had only recently learned they were not alone in the universe. 5 years ago, an alien probe had visited Earth and made contact. Since then, Earth had been applying to join something called the Galactic Council, a group of advanced civilizations that governed interstellar relations. But Earth was not a member yet. They were still being evaluated, still being judged, and now alien ships were searching near their planet without explanation. Do we know what species? Helen asked. The signatures are difficult to identify, but intelligence thinks they might be dragons. Dragons. Helen set down the tablet. She had read the reports about dragons. Ancient, powerful, and not particularly interested in humans. They considered Earth a backwater planet, and humanity too primitive to bother with. Why would dragons be searching near Earth? Why? Unknown. They are not communicating with us. Helen stood and walked to the window. Outside, the city lights of Washington stretched into the distance. Millions of people going about their lives, unaware that alien ships were circling their planet. Keep monitoring the situation, she said. If they make any hostile moves, I want to know immediately. And find out what they are looking for. In Chicago, Lisa woke up after 6 hours of sleep. Her next shift did not start until evening, so she had time. She showered, changed into clean clothes, and went to the grocery store. She bought cat food, even though she suspected Patches was not exactly a cat. That evening, before heading to work, she went to the dumpsters with a can of food and fresh water. Patches was there. Waiting in the same spot, the creature made happy sounds when it saw her and ran to her feet. Lisa opened the can and set it down. Patches ate eagerly, making small, pleased chirps between bites. You really were hungry, Lisa said, sitting on the ground next to the creature. How long have you been out here alone? Patches finished eating and climbed into Lisa's lap. It was heavier than it looked. Lisa stroked its rough, scaly skin, and the creature closed its eyes, purring like a cat. But the sound was deeper, more like a rumble. For the first time in months, Lisa felt less alone. Her life was work and sleep, and not much else. She had no family nearby and few friends. But now, she had this strange little creature that needed her. I have to go to work, Lisa said reluctantly. But I'll be back tomorrow. I promise. Patches looked up at her with those golden eyes. Then it did something that made Lisa freeze. It reached up one small paw and gently touched her cheek, as if trying to comfort her. Animals did not do that. Not stray animals that had just met someone. Lisa drove to work with questions running through her mind. What was Patches? Where did it come from? And why did it feel like those golden eyes could see right into her soul? 3 weeks passed, and Patches became part of Lisa's routine. Every day before work, she would bring food and spend time with the creature. Every day, Patches would be waiting by the dumpsters, chirping happily when Lisa arrived. But Patches was changing, growing, fast. After the first week, the creature was the size of a house cat. After 2 weeks, it was as large as a small dog. By the 3rd week, Patches was too big to hide completely behind the dumpster. Lisa noticed other things too. Small bumps on the creature's back that looked like they might become wings. tiny horn buds on its head, scales that shimmered with different colors in the light. This was definitely not a cat. Lisa knew that, but she did not know what it was, and she could not bring herself to stop caring for it. Patches was always so happy to see her, so gentle and affectionate. Whatever it was, it needed her. One evening, Lisa's neighbor caught her feeding Patches. George Campbell was a 70-year-old veteran who lived on the second floor. He walked with a cane and did not talk much, but he noticed everything. "That's not a normal animal," George said, standing at a safe distance from Patches. "I know," Lisa admitted. She scratched behind Patches' ears, and the creature leaned into her touch, rumbling with pleasure. "Could be dangerous. Could be someone's illegal pet that they dumped. It hasn't hurt anyone. It's just hungry and alone." George studied Patches for a long moment. The creature looked back at him with those intelligent golden eyes. "You're playing with fire, girl. That thing keeps growing like this. People are going to notice. Animal control. Maybe worse. I'll handle it," Lisa said, though she had no idea how. George shook his head and walked away, but Lisa noticed he looked back once, his expression thoughtful. That night at the hospital was brutal. Lisa lost a patient. A young man, only 32, who came in with chest pain and died of a massive heart attack before they could save him. His wife screamed in the hallway. His children cried, and Lisa had to keep working, moving to the next patient, pushing down her own feelings. When her shift ended at 2 in the morning, Lisa sat in her car and cried. She cried for the man who died, for his family, for all the people she tried to save, but could not, for the weight of caring so much and never being able to do enough. She dragged herself to her apartment and found Patches waiting at her door. The creature had somehow gotten into the building. It must have followed someone inside. "You shouldn't be here," Lisa said weakly. "If the landlord sees you," but Patches pressed against her leg, making soft, worried sounds. The creature could tell something was wrong. Lisa unlocked her door and Patches followed her inside. She was too tired to argue, too tired to care. She collapsed on her couch and Patches jumped up beside her. Then something extraordinary happened. Patches began to glow. A soft, warm light spread from the creature's body, filling the dark apartment with a gentle radiance. The light wrapped around Lisa like a blanket, and suddenly the crushing weight on her chest lifted. The sadness that had been drowning her faded. Not gone completely, but manageable. Bearable. Lisa stared at Patches in shock. The creature looked back at her calmly, still glowing, and made a sound that was almost like words, like it was trying to tell her something. "What are you?" Lisa whispered. Patches just nuzzled against her, and the glow slowly faded. But the feeling of peace remained. Lisa fell asleep on the couch with Patches curled up beside her. When she woke up 6 hours later, the creature was gone. She found it outside by the dumpsters again, waiting for breakfast as if nothing strange had happened. But Lisa knew. This was not just some exotic animal. This was something else entirely. Something possibly not from Earth. In orbit around Earth's moon, Queen Valithra's flagship hung in space like a jewel. The massive ship was crystal and metal, powered by technologies humanity could not yet understand. Inside the main command center, Valithra studied a holographic display of Earth. "We have narrowed the search," Shen reported. "The hatchling's energy signature is definitely coming from this planet. From a city called Chicago." Quote, "Show me," Valithra commanded. The display zoomed in, showing the sprawling city on the shores of a great lake. Millions of humans living their simple lives, unaware of the drama unfolding above them. "The signature is weak and intermittent," Shen continued. "The hatchling's perception filter is still active, masking its true form. But it is there. It is alive." Relief flooded through Valithra. Her child was alive. After weeks of searching, weeks of fearing the worst, her baby was alive. But relief quickly turned to anger. Why has it been on this primitive planet for so long? What have these humans done to my child? "We do not know, Your Majesty. The humans are a developing species. They have only just achieved basic space travel. They may not even realize what they have found, or they have captured it," Valithra said coldly. They may be holding it prisoner. Experimenting on it. Shen said nothing. He knew the queen's temper. Dragons did not forget insults, and they did not forgive those who harmed their young. Prepare to enter the planet's atmosphere, Valithra ordered. I am going to retrieve my child personally. Your Majesty, the Galactic Council has advised caution. The humans are unpredictable. They may respond with violence if we appear without warning. I do not care what the Council says. That is my child down there. Nothing will stop me from bringing it home. Nothing. Shen bowed his head in submission. He knew better than to argue further. As you command, Your Majesty. Meeting. Across the galaxy, in the great circular chamber of the Galactic Council, an emergency session was underway. Representatives from 100 different species filled the tiered seating. Their voices raised in concern. Councillor Krev, a reptilian diplomat with green scales and cold yellow eyes, addressed the assembly. The Dragon Queen is preparing to enter Earth's atmosphere. This violates protocol. Earth is not yet a member of the Council. The humans have not been fully evaluated. The Queen has rights as a parent, another councillor argued. If her child is on Earth, she has the right to retrieve it. But the humans do not know what they have found, Krev countered. They are a violent species. Territorial. If a massive dragon ship appears over one of their cities, they may attack. This could trigger an interstellar incident. Should we warn them? And tell them what? That they have been harboring a dragon hatchling? That could make things worse. No, we must observe and be ready to intervene if necessary. The Council voted. Observers would be sent to Earth. If violence erupted, they would step in. But they would not prevent the Queen from finding her child. On Earth, in a secure bunker beneath Washington, Secretary Helen Price listened to the latest reports with growing concern. The alien vessels have stopped searching, General Webb said. They are now focused on a single location. Chicago, Illinois. Why Chicago? Helen asked. Unknown. But the largest vessel is preparing to enter our atmosphere. It is heading directly for the city. Helen felt her stomach tighten. How large is this vessel? Approximately 800 meters long, larger than any aircraft carrier. If it enters the atmosphere over a populated area, people will panic. Can we stop it? Webb hesitated. We could try, but based on what we know about dragon technology, our weapons would likely be ineffective, and attacking might start a war we cannot win. Helen stood and paced. 5 years. Humanity had known about alien life for 5 years. They had been trying to prove they were ready to join the galactic community, ready to be trusted with knowledge and technology beyond their current understanding. And now everything could fall apart because of something happening in Chicago. Get me the governor of Illinois, Helen ordered, and the mayor of Chicago. We need to prepare for possible evacuation. Quietly. We do not want mass panic. What about the military? Have our forces ready, but do not engage unless the aliens attack first. We need to know what they want before we start shooting. In her small apartment, Lisa prepared for another shift. She had stopped trying to understand what Patches was. She just knew that the creature made her life better, made her feel less alone. When she came home exhausted and sad, Patches was there. When she needed comfort, Patches somehow knew and provided it. Whatever Patches was, wherever it came from, Lisa cared for it. That was enough. She gathered food and water and headed downstairs. But when she reached the back lot, she froze. George Campbell was there, standing near the dumpsters. And he was feeding Patches. The old veteran looked up as Lisa approached. Figured the thing might be hungry. You work long hours. Lisa felt tears prick her eyes. She had been so alone for so long. And now this grumpy old man was helping her feed a strange creature without asking questions. Thank you, she said quietly. George shrugged. I don't know what it is. Don't particularly care. But it's clear you love it, and it loves you. That's good enough for me. Patches chirped happily and rubbed against both of them, its tail wagging like a dog. Above them, invisible to the naked eye, Scanners from the Dragon flagship locked onto Patches's location. The coordinates were confirmed. The target was found. Queen Valithra began her descent to Earth. Lisa woke up to her phone ringing. She grabbed it groggily and saw it was her supervisor at the hospital. "Lisa, don't come in today." Karen's voice was tight with worry. "The city is issuing some kind of emergency alert. Something about staying indoors." "What? Why?" Lisa sat up in bed. "I don't know the details. Just stay home. Stay safe." Lisa turned on the news and felt her blood run cold. Every channel showed the same thing. A massive object in the sky over Chicago. Not a plane. Not a helicopter. Something enormous and alien, descending slowly through the clouds. The news anchors tried to stay calm, but Lisa could hear the fear in their voices. People were being told to remain in their homes. The military was responding. No one knew what was happening. Lisa ran to her window and looked up. She could not see anything yet, but she felt a strange pressure in the air, like the atmosphere itself was holding its breath. Then she thought of Patches. She threw on clothes and ran downstairs, ignoring the emergency alerts blaring from her phone. Other residents were in the hallways, frightened and confused. Someone shouted at her to stay inside, but Lisa kept running. She burst through the back door into the lot. Patches was there, but the creature was acting strange. It paced back and forth, making distressed sounds. The small wing buds on its back were extended, trembling. Its scales were glowing faintly. "Patches, what's wrong?" Lisa knelt beside the creature. Patches looked up at her with those golden eyes, and Lisa saw fear there. Real, genuine fear. The creature pressed against her leg, chirping desperately. The pressure in the air increased. Lisa looked up and gasped. The clouds were parting. And through the gap, something descended. A ship. No, not just a ship. A work of art. Crystalline structures that caught the light and threw rainbows across the city. Metal that seemed to flow like water. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The ship was enormous. It filled the sky above Lisa's neighborhood, casting a shadow over entire blocks. She could see people running in the streets, cars abandoned as drivers fled in panic. In the distance, sirens wailed. Patches made a sound Lisa had never heard before, a high-pitched cry that was almost like a word, like the creature was calling out to the ship, and the ship responded. A beam of light shot down from the vessel, scanning the area. It passed over buildings, over cars, over people, and then it stopped. The beam focused directly on Patches. Lisa felt her heart hammering. She understood now. Patches was not from Earth, and that ship was here for it. She should have been terrified. She should have run, but instead, Lisa wrapped her arms around Patches and held the creature close. "It's okay," she whispered. "I'm here. I'm here." Patches buried its head against her chest, trembling. The ship settled into a hover about 100 feet above the ground. A section of the crystalline hull began to glow, and then a platform extended downward. On that platform stood a creature that made Lisa forget to breathe. It was a dragon. A real dragon. Like from old stories and legends. Easily the size of a passenger jet, with scales that shimmered between silver and blue. Massive wings folded against its back, a long tail that moved like a whip. And eyes. Ancient, intelligent eyes that burned with an intensity that made Lisa feel like an insect. The dragon descended on the platform, which lowered until it touched the ground about 50 feet from Lisa. The creature stepped off, and each footstep made the pavement crack. Its claws were as long as Lisa's forearm. Behind Lisa, she heard George Campbell's voice. Mother of God. The old veteran had come outside too. He stood in the doorway, leaning on his cane, staring at the dragon with a mixture of awe and fear. Military vehicles were arriving now, screeching to a halt at the end of the street. Soldiers poured out. Weapons raised. Helicopters circled overhead. But they did not fire. Everyone was waiting to see what would happen. The dragon's gaze swept over the scene, taking in the soldiers, the frightened humans, the abandoned cars. And then, those ancient eyes locked onto Lisa and Patches. The dragon began to move forward. Slowly. Deliberately. Power radiated from every step. This was a being that had lived for centuries. Maybe longer. A being that could destroy the entire neighborhood with a thought. Lisa knew she should run. Every instinct screamed at her to get away. But Patches was shaking in her arms, and Lisa could not abandon it. Would not, so she stood her ground. The dragon stopped about 20 feet away. When it spoke, its voice was like thunder. Deep and resonant, each word vibrating through Lisa's chest. But she could understand it. The words came in English, though she suspected the dragon was using some kind of translation technology. "What have you done to my child?" The words took a moment to sink in. "My child." Lisa looked down at Patches. At the small creature she had been feeding for weeks. The creature that had comforted her when she was sad, that had waited for her every day. "Your child?" Lisa's voice came out as a whisper. "That hatchling belongs to me. It has been missing for weeks. And now I find it here, on this primitive world, in the hands of a human." The dragon took another step forward, and Lisa heard soldiers shouting warnings. She heard the sound of weapons being readied. The situation was seconds away from exploding into violence, but Lisa focused on the dragon's words. Missing. Weeks. The dragon was not angry at humans for capturing the hatchling. She was angry because she thought they had. "I didn't take your child," Lisa said, forcing her voice to be steady. "I found it. About a month ago. It was alone by the dumpsters. Hungry and scared. I didn't know what it was. I just knew it needed help." The dragon's eyes narrowed. "You expect me to believe that? That you fed and sheltered a dragon hatchling out of simple kindness?" "Yes." The single word hung in the air. Lisa saw doubt flicker across the dragon's face. Or at least, what she thought was doubt. It was hard to read expressions on such an alien face. "I fed it every day," Lisa continued, her voice growing stronger. "I gave it water. I sat with it because it seemed lonely. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know it was yours. I just knew it needed someone to care." Patches stirred in Lisa's arms and made a soft sound. The hatchling looked up at the massive dragon and chirped. Not in fear. In recognition. In happiness. The dragon's entire body went still. Lisa saw something shift in those ancient eyes. Saw the anger drain away. Replaced by confusion. By hope. "Come here, little one," the dragon said softly. Patches squirmed in Lisa's arms, wanting to go. Lisa hesitated, then carefully set the hatchling down. Patches immediately ran toward the dragon. Crying out in joy, the massive dragon lowered its head, and Patches scrambled up, climbing onto the dragon's snout. The hatchling nuzzled against its mother's face, making happy sounds, and the dragon, this ancient and powerful being, closed its eyes and rumbled with relief. Lisa watched the reunion with tears streaming down her face. She was happy for Patches. Happy the hatchling had found its mother. But her heart was breaking because she knew what this meant. Patches was going home. And that home was not Earth. The dragon opened its eyes and looked at Lisa again. But the anger was gone now. In its place was something Lisa did not expect. Confusion. Surprise. And maybe, just maybe, respect. "You cared for my child," the dragon said slowly. "You did not know what it was. You did not know what reward you might receive. You simply gave it food, and shelter, and kindness. Anyone would have done the same," Lisa said. "No." The dragon's voice was firm. "No, they would not have. Many species in this galaxy would have captured it, sold it, used it for their own gain. Dragon hatchlings are valuable. But you asked for nothing. I didn't do it for a reward. I did it because Patches needed help." "Patches?" The dragon tilted its head. "That's what I called it, because of the pattern on its scales." For a long moment, the dragon simply stared at Lisa. Then it did something that shocked everyone watching. It bowed its massive head, just slightly, but unmistakably, a gesture of respect. "I am Queen Velithra," the dragon said, "ruler of the dragon clans. And you, Lisa Martinez, have earned my eternal gratitude." The words seemed to echo across the silent neighborhood. Soldiers lowered their weapons slightly, uncertain. Helicopters continued to circle, cameras recording everything. Lisa did not know what to say. What could anyone say to a dragon queen? "My child is healthy," Velithra continued, examining Patches carefully. "Well fed. Content. You have taken good care of it." "I tried," Lisa said. "I didn't know what dragons needed. I just gave it what I could." Velithra was quiet for a moment. Most species would fear what they do not understand. They would call for their authorities, have it taken away, but you simply offered kindness. The dragon's gaze swept over the gathered soldiers, the frightened neighbors, the news helicopters. "Perhaps I have misjudged humanity." "Oh," one of the military vehicle's loudspeakers crackled to life. "This is General Carlos Webb, of the United States Armed Forces. We request that you state your intentions." Velithra's head swung toward the soldiers. "I came for my child. That is all. I mean no harm to your world. Then you will leave peacefully?" "Yes, but I wish to speak with this human first. Alone." The soldiers looked uncertain. Lisa saw them talking frantically on their radios, probably getting orders from someone higher up. "Please," Lisa said loudly enough for them to hear. "Let me talk to her. If the hatchling trusts me, then so can its mother." After a long, tense moment, the soldiers backed up slightly. Not far, but enough to give some space. Velithra lowered her massive head until she was at eye level with Lisa. Up close, the dragon was even more impressive. Her scales caught the morning light and threw it back in 1,000 different shades of blue and silver. Her breath was warm and smelled faintly of cinnamon. "You are afraid," Velithra observed. "Yes," Lisa admitted. "There was no point in lying to a creature that ancient and intelligent. Yet you do not run. Running won't help if you want to hurt me. And if you don't want to hurt me, then there's no reason to run." Something that might have been amusement flickered in Velithra's eyes. "Practical. I appreciate that." The dragon glanced at Patches, who was now perched on her shoulder, making happy sounds. "Tell me everything. How you found the hatchling. What you did. Leave nothing out." So Lisa told her. About finishing her shift that first night, and hearing the crying. About finding Patches behind the dumpster, alone and scared. About bringing food every day. About how the creature started waiting for her. About the night Patches somehow sensed her sadness and glowed to make her feel better. Velithra listened to everything without interrupting. When Lisa finished, the dragon was quiet for a long moment. "The hatchling became lost during a diplomatic visit to a space station near your star system," Velithra finally said. "It is too young to properly control its perception filter. That is the ability to appear as something else. To avoid predators. On your world, it chose the form of a small feline creature." "A cat," Lisa said. "Yes. But the filter was imperfect. You noticed the scales, the strange eyes, yet you cared for it anyway. It needed help, that's all that mattered." Velithra made a sound that might have been a sigh. "For weeks, I have been searching. I mobilized my entire fleet. I was prepared to burn worlds to ash if I discovered my child had been harmed." Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. This dragon could have destroyed Earth. Would have, if things had gone differently. "But instead I find this," Velithra continued. "A human nurse, working long hours to save lives, who used her limited resources to feed a creature she did not understand. Who asked for nothing in return. Who loved my child simply because it existed. I didn't love it because it was your child. I didn't even know what it was. It was small, and alone, and needed someone. So I became that someone." "Do you understand what you have done?" Velithra asked. Dragon hatchlings are precious. They are the future of our species. We have many enemies in this galaxy who would pay fortunes to capture one, to use it for leverage, to study it, to harm it. But you protected it. For no reason other than basic decency. Before Lisa could respond, a new voice cut through the air. Your Majesty, we must speak. A small ship descended from the larger vessel. It was sleek and elegant, with markings that Lisa did not recognize. The ship landed, and a ramp extended. Down that ramp walked a figure that looked vaguely reptilian, but walked upright like a human. Green scales, yellow eyes, and wearing some kind of formal robe. Counselor Krev, Valithra said, her voice cool. The Galactic Council is watching this situation very closely, Krev said. He spoke English as well, his voice sharp and precise. We must ensure this incident does not escalate. There is no incident. I found my child. I am taking it home. Yes. But the manner in which you arrived has caused significant distress to the human population. Look around you. Soldiers. Weapons. Fear. This could have been handled more delicately. My child was missing. I was not in the mood for delicate. Krev's gaze shifted to Lisa. Those yellow eyes studied her with cold calculation. And this human? What do you intend to do with her? Do with her? Valithra's voice took on a dangerous edge. She is not some object to be disposed of. She saved my child's life. Ren. She saved my child's life. She saved my child's life. She harbored a dragon hatchling for weeks without reporting it to any authority. Some might view that as kidnapping. Lisa felt her heart skip. She had not thought of it that way. She had just been trying to help. She did not know what it was, Valithra said, her voice like ice. And even if she had, there was no one to report it to. Humans are not yet members of the Council. They have no protocols for such situations. Precisely. They are not members. They are a developing species with a history of violence and territorial aggression. This incident raises questions about their readiness to join the galactic community. George Campbell, who had been watching from the doorway, suddenly spoke up. Now you listen here. The old veteran limped forward, using his cane. Soldiers tried to stop him, but he waved them off. I don't know who you are, or what authority you think you have. But that girl right there is a nurse. She spends every day trying to save people's lives. When she found that creature, she didn't call the authorities because she was afraid they would take it away, afraid it would be locked up in some lab somewhere. She protected it because that's who she is. She protects things that need protecting. Krev looked at George with distaste. You are out of order, human. This is a matter for the Council to decide. The Council can go to hell. Valithra made a sound that was definitely amusement. I like this one. Krev was not amused. Your Majesty, I must insist that we follow proper protocols. The human should be questioned. Her actions should be investigated. We need to understand why she hid the hatchling instead of seeking help. I did not hide it, Lisa said, finding her voice. She was tired of being talked about like she was not there. I fed a stray animal. That's it. I didn't know it was a dragon. I didn't know it was lost. I just saw something that needed help and I helped it. And that is why humanity deserves a place in the Council, Valithra said firmly. Counselor Krev, you have spent years arguing that humans are too primitive, too violent, too selfish to join the galactic community. But this human, with no thought of reward, no expectation of gratitude, protected the child of a species she had never met. What does that tell you? It tells me she is an exception. One kind human does not make an entire species worthy. Then you do not understand kindness at all. The argument was getting heated. Lisa could feel the tension building. Soldiers were getting nervous. More military vehicles were arriving. Someone was going to do something stupid if this continued. Stop, Lisa said loudly. Both Valithra and Krev turned to look at her. This is not about me. This is about Patches. The hatchling has its mother now. It's safe. That's all that matters. You are willing to simply let it go? Krev asked, suspicion in his voice. Of course I am. It was never mine to keep. I was just taking care of it until its family found it. Valithra studied Lisa with those ancient eyes. Most beings would demand compensation, recognition, a reward of some kind. I don't want anything. I just want to know that Patches will be okay. Patches. Valithra said the name carefully, as if tasting it. That is what you called my child? Yes, because of the pattern on its scales. I needed something to call it. Valithra reached up with one massive claw and gently stroked the hatchling on her shoulder. Patches chirped happily and nuzzled against her mother's hand. My child's true name is Vakorion, Valithra said softly. But I think it likes Patches as well. A good name. A kind name. Secretary Helen Price arrived in a military helicopter. She climbed out quickly, flanked by General Webb and a team of security personnel. She took in the scene. The massive dragon. The alien counselor. The frightened neighborhood. And one very tired-looking nurse. Standing in the middle of it all. I am Secretary of Defense Helen Price, she said, approaching carefully. On behalf of the United States government, I need to understand the situation. Valithra looked at Helen with mild interest. Your world is not being invaded. I came only to retrieve my child. This human protected it and cared for it. I am grateful. That is all. With respect, your arrival has caused widespread panic. People are terrified. We need assurances that Earth is not under threat. You have my word. I have no quarrel with humanity. Helen looked at Lisa. Is that true? Did you really find a dragon hatchling and take care of it? Yes, ma'am, Lisa said. I didn't know what it was. I just thought it was a stray dragon. I didn't know it was a dragon. Helen looked like she wanted to laugh and cry at the same time. This is insane. Welcome to First Contact, General Webb muttered. Counselor Krev stepped forward. Secretary Price, the Galactic Council will need to review this incident. Earth's application for membership will be re-evaluated in light of these events. Because one of our citizens helped a lost child? Helen's voice took on a sharp edge. That seems like exactly the kind of behavior you should want in a member species. Or it shows a lack of proper protocols and procedures. It shows compassion. Maybe that's something your council needs to learn about. Valithra made that amused sound again. I am beginning to see why humanity might be valuable to the council. They do not bow and scrape like so many others. Patches chose that moment to climb down from Valithra's shoulder and run to Lisa. The hatchling chirped and rubbed against her legs, clearly wanting attention. Lisa knelt and scratched behind Patches' ears one last time. You need to go with your mom now. She's been looking for you for a long time. The hatchling looked up at her with those golden eyes, and Lisa could have sworn she saw understanding there. Sadness, even. I'll miss you too, Lisa whispered. But you'll be happy. You'll be home. Valithra watched this exchange with an expression that was hard to read. When Lisa stood up, and Patches reluctantly walked back to its mother, the dragon spoke. Lisa Martinez, you have done something unprecedented. You have earned the gratitude of the dragon clans. That is not a small thing. I was just being human, Lisa said simply. Then perhaps, Valithra said slowly, humanity is more remarkable than I believed. Valithra turned to face the assembled soldiers, government officials, and news cameras that had gathered. When she spoke, her voice carried across the entire neighborhood with effortless power. I came to your world in anger and fear. I believed my child had been taken from me. I was prepared for war. But instead, I found kindness. I found a human who asked for nothing, expected nothing, and gave everything she could to a creature she did not understand. The dragon's gaze swept over the crowd. For years, the Galactic Council has debated whether humanity is ready to join the greater community. They have worried about your violence, your territorial nature, your wars and conflicts, and those concerns are not without merit. But they have missed something essential about your species. Valithra looked back at Lisa. You have the capacity for unconditional compassion. You help those in need simply because they are in need. Not because of what you might gain. Not because of who they are, but because it is right. Counselor Krev stepped forward, his yellow eyes narrowed. Your Majesty, one human's actions cannot speak for an entire species. Can they not? Velithra's voice took on an edge. Then let me tell you what I observed while searching for my child. I monitored your communications. I watched your news broadcasts. And do you know what I found? Thousands of humans who run into burning buildings to save strangers, who donate organs to people they have never met, who adopt abandoned children from across the world, who spend their lives caring for the sick, the wounded, the dying. She gestured toward Lisa. This human is not an exception. She is an example. And if you cannot see that, counselor, then the council is blind. A murmur ran through the crowd. News helicopters circled overhead, broadcasting everything. This was going out live across the world. Millions of people were watching. Helen Price stepped forward carefully. Queen Velithra, what happens now? Now I take my child home. But first, I wish to make something clear to all who are watching. Velithra's voice rang out like a bell. The Dragon clans hereby extend our formal protection to Lisa Martinez and to the human species. Any who harm them will answer to us. The words fell like thunder. Even Krev looked shocked. Your Majesty, you cannot make such a declaration without council approval. Krev protested. I am the Dragon Queen. I do not require the council's approval to honor a debt. This human saved my child. That creates a bond that transcends politics. Velithra lowered her head to Lisa once more. I offer you a choice, Lisa Martinez. Come with me to the Dragon homeworld. Become an ambassador between your species and mine. You have already proven you can bridge the gap between our worlds. Lisa felt like she could not breathe. Go to space? Leave Earth? Become an ambassador? It was insane. It was impossible. But then she looked at Patches. The little dragon hatchling was watching her with those golden eyes, chirping hopefully. I'm a nurse, Lisa said weakly. I don't know anything about diplomacy or politics. You know about caring for others. You know about compassion and sacrifice. That is more valuable than any political training. But my job, my life here, would be waiting for you when you return. I am not asking you to abandon your world, only to visit mine, to help both our species understand each other. Quote, George Campbell limped forward again. Girl, you better take that offer. How many people get a chance like this? Lisa looked at the old veteran, at Helen Price and General Webb, at the soldiers and neighbors, and news cameras. Everyone was watching her. Waiting, she thought about her life, the long shifts, the empty apartment, the loneliness that had been her constant companion for years. She had been existing, not living, going through the motions. Then she thought about Patches, about the joy she felt every evening when the creature was waiting for her, about how it had comforted her on her worst nights, about the connection they had formed without words or explanations. If I go, Lisa said slowly, can I come back? Can I visit Patches? Vicarion will always be happy to see you, and you will have free passage to visit whenever you wish. You have my word. Lisa took a deep breath. Then yes, I'll go. A cheer went up from the crowd. George was grinning. Helen Price looked relieved. Even some of the soldiers were smiling. Only Counselor Krev looked displeased. This is highly irregular. The council will need to review this arrangement. Then let them review, Velithra said calmly. I have made my decision. The Dragon clans sponsor humanity's application for council membership. We will vouch for their character. Krev's eyes widened. You cannot be serious. I am entirely serious. And if the council wishes to debate the matter, they may do so. But they will do so with the knowledge that the dragons stand with humanity. The counselor looked like he wanted to argue further, but he simply bowed stiffly and retreated to his ship. Lisa watched him go with mixed feelings. She had just caused a major political incident. Apparently. Do not worry about him, Valithra said. Krev has opposed every new species admission to the Council for the past century. He believes only ancient civilizations have wisdom. He will learn otherwise. When do we leave? Lisa asked. Soon. But first, you should say goodbye to your people. And gather anything you wish to bring. Lisa looked around at her neighbors. At George, who had become her unexpected friend. At the building where she had lived for 3 years. At the dumpsters, where she had first found Patches. Can I have an hour? She asked. Of course. Lisa walked back to her apartment in a daze. She packed a small bag with clothes, her phone, photos of her family. She wrote a quick note for her landlord and her supervisor at the hospital. She tried to process what was happening and failed completely. When she came back outside, a crowd had gathered. Neighbors she barely knew came up to shake her hand, to wish her luck. George gave her a tight hug. You make us proud, girl, he said gruffly. Show them what humans are made of. Helen Price approached with a serious expression. Lisa, I need you to understand something. You are about to become one of the most important people on Earth. Everything you do out there will reflect on all of us. No pressure, Lisa said weakly. You'll do fine. If you were brave enough to care for an alien creature without knowing what it was, you are brave enough for this. General Webb stepped forward and offered his hand. Give them hell, ma'am. Lisa shook his hand, feeling surreal. Yesterday she was a nurse. Today she was an ambassador. How did life change so fast? Valithra had been watching patiently. Now she extended the platform from her ship. Are you ready? Lisa looked at Patches, who was bouncing excitedly on the platform. The hatchling clearly wanted her to come. As ready as I'll ever be. She stepped onto the platform with her small bag. The platform began to rise, carrying her up toward the massive crystalline ship. Below, the crowd cheered. News helicopters followed her ascent. This was history being made. Inside the ship, Lisa was amazed. Everything glowed softly. The walls seemed to be alive with light. Other dragons moved through the corridors, all of them pausing to stare at the human in their midst. Valithra led her to a chamber with windows that looked out over Earth. The planet was beautiful from this height. Blue and white and green, turning slowly in the darkness. Your world is lovely, Valithra said. Young, but lovely. I've never seen it from space before. You will see many worlds before you return home. Some more beautiful than this. Some less. But I think you will always find this one special. Patches climbed into Lisa's lap and curled up, making contented sounds. Lisa stroked the hatchling's scales, marveling at how much had changed in just a few hours. What will happen now? She asked. We will return to the dragon homeworld. You will meet the rest of my clan. You will learn our ways, and we will learn yours. And then you will stand before the Galactic Council and tell them your story. They won't want to hear from me. I'm nobody. You are the human who saved a dragon's child. Everyone will want to hear from you. The ship began to move, pulling away from Earth. Lisa watched her world shrink in the window, becoming smaller and smaller until it was just a blue dot in the darkness. She should have been terrified. She was leaving everything she knew, traveling to worlds she could not imagine, representing her entire species. But Patches was warm in her lap. Valithra was beside her, radiating calm strength. And for the first time in years, Lisa did not feel alone. Thank you, Valithra said quietly, for caring for my child, for showing mercy when you could have shown fear, for being exactly who you are. I didn't do anything special, Lisa said. That is where you are wrong. What you did was the most special thing of all. You saw someone in need and you helped them. No questions, no hesitation, just pure, simple kindness. That is the rarest thing in the entire galaxy. 6 months later, Lisa stood before the Galactic Council. Representatives from 100 species filled the great chamber, all of them watching her with various degrees of interest, skepticism, or hostility. She was nervous. more nervous than she had ever been in her life. But Velithra stood behind her, a massive and reassuring presence. And she knew Earth was watching. Her speech was being broadcast across the planet. "I am not a politician," Lisa began, her voice clear in the vast chamber. "I am not a diplomat. I am a nurse from Chicago, and I am here to tell you about the night I found a creature behind a dumpster and decided to help it." She told them her story, simply and honestly, about working long shifts and feeling alone, about hearing a cry and following it, about finding patches and feeding it day after day, not knowing what it was. "I didn't help because I expected a reward," Lisa said. "I didn't help because I thought it would make me famous or important. I helped because there was a living creature that was hungry and scared. And I had food to share, that's all." She looked around at the assembled species. "You have debated for years whether humanity is ready to join you. Whether we are too violent, too primitive, too young. And maybe we are all those things. We have wars. We have conflicts. We make mistakes." Lisa's voice grew stronger. "But we also have nurses who work 20-hour shifts to save lives. We have firefighters who run into burning buildings. We have teachers who spend their own money to buy supplies for their students. We have millions of people who adopt animals from shelters, who volunteer at soup kitchens, who donate blood to strangers." She gestured to Velithra. "When I found Patches, I didn't know it was a dragon. I didn't know saving it would lead to all this. I just knew it needed help. And helping those in need is not something humans do for reward. It is something we do because it is right." The chamber was silent. Lisa could not read the expressions on most of the alien faces, but she felt like she had their attention. "You can judge us for our flaws," Lisa concluded. "That is fair. But judge us also for our compassion, for our ability to care about beings we have never met, for the fact that a tired nurse, at the end of a long shift, heard a cry in the dark and followed it, because that is humanity too." She sat down, her heart pounding. Velithra placed a massive claw gently on her shoulder in support. Counselor Krev stood. A moving speech. But one human's actions still do not speak for an entire species. Then something unexpected happened. Another counselor stood. Then another. Then dozens more. They stood in support of humanity. Even species Lisa had never heard of. A vote was called. And when the results came in, Earth had been admitted to the Galactic Council. Not unanimously. Krev and a few others voted against. But by a wide majority, humanity had a place among the stars. Lisa returned to Earth a hero. But she did not feel like one. She went back to work at the hospital. Back to her long shifts and tired feet. But now she also traveled to other worlds. She brought human doctors to share medical knowledge. She brought teachers to learn from alien cultures. She built bridges between species, and every few months, she visited the dragon homeworld. Patches, now fully grown and magnificent, would fly down to greet her, making the same happy sounds it made as a hatchling. They would spend days together, talking and exploring, the bond between them as strong as ever. Years later, when historians wrote about humanity's admission to the Galactic Council, they called it the Patch Protocol, the principle that kindness to strangers, compassion for the unknown, was the highest mark of civilization. But Lisa always remembered it differently. She remembered a tired night, a scared creature, and a simple choice. Feed it or walk away. Help or ignore. Open your heart or close it. She chose kindness. And it changed the galaxy.